Hey, what's up, everybody? Ever wondered what it's like to promote a racetrack or run a short track racing and media empire? Well, you're going to find out today. I'm Tony, he's the Steesh, and with our powers combined, we're the Baloney Burger Podcast, powered by Performance Center, Racing Warehouse, and our new partner,
NPM Marketing, Toddy McAllister. Thank you so much for coming on board. Really excited to have Mr. Langley Austin on the line with us. Langley, feel like there's something going on in Franklin County Speedway this weekend.
Yeah, somebody told me they was having a race up here.
It's always good to have you on the line, my friend, and back here at the Baloney Burger Podcast. And we wanted to obviously have you on first and foremost to kind of help us highlight and talk about the cars event this weekend. But I want to even go back a couple of months ago and talk to you a little bit about what you've done to kind of relight the flame there at Franklin County Speedway. You've had some really exciting shows. You've done some really neat stuff in a very crazy time. And just wanted to give you a little bit of a platform to talk about that and kind of share with people that may not be familiar with Franklin County Speedway what it's all about.
Well, Franklin County Speedway is an experience that everybody should have at least one time in their life. And if you come here once, I'm convinced, unless you're part of the wine and cheese crowd, that you'll want to come back again because, it's the kind of racetrack that race fans and racers want to be a part of. Franklin County Speedway is probably one of the most exciting racetracks in the country. I mean, through Race 22, I've traveled, a lot to a lot of racetracks over the years. And, Franklin County still ranks, among the top of the tracks that I've been to, as far as excitement and fan experience. And, the last few months, man, I'm going to tell you, 2020 has been a roller coaster ride for sure. We've all experienced the lockdowns, shutdowns, whatever you want to call them, all the things that have come with this pandemic, and I'll be honest with you, a couple of months ago, I thought that, we probably weren't going to race. And, I thought nobody was really going to do much racing except for maybe, places that chose to race without fans. And, that tide's turned some here. For us in Virginia, Dominion got racing, pretty quick and, had fans pretty fast after they started racing. And, same thing here for us, really. We didn't race without fans, though we could have. But we've been able to, take what has been, a hard time and turn it into something that's, worked out good for us and for the racers in this area, with Ace getting, shut down after their first couple of races there, at Bowman Gray not opening, it opened the doors for, some people to come here that probably wouldn't have came here any other way. And, once somebody, like I said earlier, it's a place you have to experience at least once. And if you experience it once, you'll want to come again. And I think that's what we found with everybody who's come here. They feel that way. They want to come back. They want to be a part of it. Everything's not perfect here, but, it's a really badass racetrack. The facilities aren't very nice. But, we're working every day to try to make that a little bit better.
all right, so take me through how you don't know if you're going to race this year to how'd you score this big deal with the Cars Tour coming to Franklin County?
Well, I mean, kind of like with everything during this pandemic, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's coming around the corner next. And we got to racing there in June. We got racing in June and really got ramped up in July. And got the opportunity to have, the Bowman Gray Stadium crowd here, the modified sportsman, street stocks, mini stocks. We got a chance to get those guys here and racing, and that was a great opportunity, for us. And I think, I had reached out to Jack and just told him, I knew he was going to struggle, having places to race. I mean, you could just see it; the writing was on the wall. And I just told him, hey man, if we can facilitate one for you, be glad to do it. Never really thought it happened, to be honest with you. But I mean, I think, in this time, we have to all kind of, try to help each other. and that's what this weekend's all about for us. It's we're really not in a position for us to make money this weekend, but we're in a position to where the car store can, maybe make a little bit of money and continue on with their schedule. And that's kind of the goal, for us, is to help, whoever, a few years ago when I was, on the outs here at Franklin County in 2014, Brad Allen from A Speedway, gave me the opportunity to continue my season. So I wanted to kind of, extend that same favor, to the car store. And, I love the car store, man. It's great. It's great for late model stock car racing. They put on fantastic races, got a lot of great racers, and really looking forward to the opportunity of having, all those guys here. Out of the 23 cars that are entered for this weekend, 19 of them had never been here before Monday.
Right.
So that's for 19 of them not to have raced here, I mean that's pretty. That means it's going to be a pretty good little event. Should be a great race. This is a tricky track. I think the guys who have been here so far, they probably think they're fast because this place is fast, but they haven't seen fast yet because the guys that have been here haven't been fast enough, in my opinion, compared to what they're going to be come Saturday night.
My question to you, obviously, with Race 22 and the racetracks that you've seen throughout the Southeast, talk about share with our viewers and listeners, what can they compare Franklin County to? I've heard people compare it to Orange County. I've heard people compare it to Hickory. What's your thought process on that? And if you're really good at Orange County, do you feel like that bodes well for you going into Saturday night, or if you run well at Hickory, does that bode well for you on Saturday night?
Well, I think both can. I mean, that's my when I describe this place to somebody, when somebody says, "Man, of the racetracks I've been to, what would you say this is like?" And I always tell them, in my mind, it's a cross between Hickory and Orange County, and I've always told people that. Newport maybe a little bit in there because of the way the banking is and small, how small the track is. There's another, a lot of these car store guys haven't been to Newport, but, a lot of the guys from, years past had. But, in my mind, Hickory, Orange County, I think it'll take, a travel package, probably similar to Hickory, for these cars because, the place is a little rough and it's old and it's wore out. Though they say it has a lot more grip than Hickory, even though the pavement's been here since 1969 and never been repaved.
Wow.
I was talking with Travis Quapple the other day when Carson Quapple was here testing, and that was one of the things he said. Oh man, I'd have thought this place was paved in the 90s, and I said, no, it's been 50 years, 52 years, 53 years, whatever it's been. So it's been a long time, and it's amazing that this place still has grip, but everything else here, the pavement's still good, but everything else here is still stuck in 1969. So, from an expectation standpoint, for fans, this is just a gritty old racetrack. It's old school, gritty place. Same kind of for the racers, that's what they can expect when they get here too. And, some of them have already tested, and, everybody, Bobby McCarty, first thing he told me, Monday he came and tested. He got here. He must have been excited to get here or nervous, one or the other, because he messaged me, Monday morning at like 8:15 and was like, "Man, I don't care what anybody says. This place is badass." And he was expecting, his expectations was that it was rough and that it was not a good place to come to. And I think the racetrack itself exceeds those expectations.
Yeah, I've already said to several people that I've talked to in the last few days, I've already said I think this is going to be the best cars race that we see all year. I have nothing to back that up with, but man, I've seen some of these videos of some of the racing, and I sat there and watched two guys run side by side for the lead for like 12 laps 2 weeks ago. You even mentioned to me in a conversation that the second groove has really come in, especially this year. So I don't anticipate I anticipate to have, two really, really good races. And look, you've got some heavy hitters, in that super late model race that are going to be that people that you probably would have expected to be at Franklin County.
Redneck Jesus.
Bubba Pollard, obviously. Trevor Knowles is scheduled. I know that KBM's got one of their super late models entered as well. So, like I said, man, I think if you can't get to Franklin County, obviously Pit Road TV is the way to go, because I don't think this is going to be a race that you want to miss.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think, obviously I'm biased, but I think it'll be the best car store race this year. Maybe it's got the potential to maybe be the best car store race ever. I mean, this racetrack can produce some fantastic racing, and I fully expect that it will. I mean, it's the second groove, that whole element, man. I don't know what's changed. But it's just the racing here is so much different than, when I grew up, it's just one groove and they knock the hell out of each other and move them out of the way. You don't have to do that anymore. You can, but you don't have to.
Right.
So it's just totally different.
Right. So you mentioned Ace earlier, and with sort of the arbitrary nature of which place can open and which place can't open, and sort of this COVID deal sort of being political to an extent at points. Are you worried at all that somebody might get wind of this and try to make an example? Do you have any nerves about hosting an event like this?
I don't know that nervous or nerves or any of that is how I feel about it. I think that I've taken the approach since day one that it is what it is. I mean, I feel like we're doing the best job we can do to do the things that they want us to do. The social distancing, the CDC guidelines, all those things, that they want us to do. We try to do our best to do them. I mean, masks aren't required outdoors. We're obviously a complete and totally outdoor facility. We don't have, the luxuries of, say Dominion, where, you got that beautiful tower and, a lot of people are indoors. We don't have that. So we don't have to worry about that. So we're trying to do all the right things, and hopefully, we continue to do the right things, and, it continues not to be a problem, but, it is what it is. I'm reserved to the fact that, things can change in an instant here. I'm not, I know Ace got very political, which is okay. I mean, it's
right.
Whatever your prerogative is. I know they got very political, but I can promise you I ain't getting political at all. I don't want any part of any politics at all whatsoever.
I'm with you on that, brother.
I have made it my point of contention to not make it political. I mean, even, the owner of the property, sells Trump apparel. You know what I mean? So they've got, one of their Trump buses here on the property. I hate to see the thing. You know what I mean? I just, from a standpoint of, not wanting to be political, I've had people, try to come here and sell, Trump stuff and sell political geared things. And I just have tried to avoid that the best I can, because we live in different times. It's not that most people will never know whether I'm Democrat or Republican. I'm neither, because I don't care. I'm not into that, and I don't want to be a part of that, and I don't want that to be a part of what we do here.
One thing that I'll ask you, obviously, with your race 22 and what you do for short track racing, obviously 2020 has been a very unique year for a lot of reasons. Hickory Motor Speedway has run with no fans. Obviously, Dominion and Langley have both run. With and you guys at Franklin County, obviously, with the ability to have 1,000 people, at events. But my question to you is, and I know you follow the Cars Tour to some extent. It's been a very, very unusual year for the Cars Tour. I'm sitting here looking, and I'm looking at the point standings. Your top four in points have yet to win a race. Bobby McCarty being one of those. Jared Fryer leading the points. He hasn't won a race. Corey Hahn with one win. Jonathan Finley, kind of a sleeper win at Dominion a couple weeks ago, even though he did have the best car, in my opinion. He's got a win. And then, you've got Ryan Millington, who's not a Car Series regular, and Taylor Gray, who's not a Car Series regular, winning a couple of races. I really feel like this sets the table for someone like a Mike Looney to come in his first Cars race this weekend at home and steal one from these Tour regulars.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the perfect place for that to happen too. And everybody sees Mike Looney as the guy who could do that.
Yeah.
They better not sleep on Kyle Dudley. I'm gonna tell you right now, that guy is extremely good here. He's got Forrest Reynolds crew chief in his car this weekend. He's going to be on. I expect him. I might be totally wrong, but I expect him to be 100% on point and be one of the guys to beat this weekend. But I mean, those Tour regulars are no slouches. Those guys, are going to be hard to beat. Anytime, anywhere they go. I'm not trying to discount them in any way, shape, or form, but this is the perfect racetrack for Mike Looney or Kyle Dudley or even Ricky Gillespie. Local guys who race with us fairly often to kind of get an upset victory.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? What about the supers? I mean, is Franklin County? I mean, what kind of race do we expect from the super late models?
Yeah, I mean, I expect it to be a slugfest, man. I mean, I expect these guys to really get after it. They're not. I'm gonna tell you that the funny thing, when they come and tested the other day, when when Carson Quapple come and tested the other day, I found it. I was like, man, he's not very good. I'm thinking he's not very good at all. He's turning, 14 flats, somewhere in that neighborhood, 1390s, 14. I'm thinking, man, he's not very good because the late model stocks are, 1370s, 1360s. I expect the pole will be a 1350.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, he's not very good. Well, Matt Craig comes and he's running the same lap times. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, that's really weird. I'm expecting them to be, 3 or 4 tenths of a second faster than the late model stocks, but they're not. So I think that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. For those guys, I expect this is a track that supers have never raced at. Those two guys are the only two that have tested here. There'll be several more tomorrow, but those are the guys the only two that have tested here. Obviously Bubba Pollard's going to be one of the guys to beat. Matt Craig's obviously good everywhere he goes. So I don't. It's hard to know what to expect. With those guys for sure.
So this is a big, exciting race, and it was a big win, a big grab for Franklin County. But let's talk a little bit about this 10 grand race we've got coming up here in was it November?
Well, that's that was an idea that I had. We've not executed on that yet. I had a sponsor who wanted to do it. He still may, so we're trying to figure that part out. I'm probably, like I told Lee Pulliam yesterday, we were talking about, Martinsville and whether it's going to happen and all that stuff. And, talking about running some bigger races and stuff. And I really would like to do some stuff like that. And I'm willing to take some risk on it. I told Lee that I was probably, if I took a risk on a 33, he said, can we have a 33,000 to win? Late model stock race the same weekend Martinsville's supposed to happen if they don't. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be divorced, but I probably would take that gamble. I'd probably be divorced before we even got to the race. It's just one of those things. The 10,000, I'm working on it still. We had originally tried to shoot for Labor Day weekend. That's probably not going to happen at this point. I'm probably move my big limited race to Labor Day weekend, and we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with Martinsville. They're probably a few days away from knowing whether they're going to pull the trigger and run the race or not run the race. And then we'll kind of go from there.
So do we break some news there? You and Lee Pulliam are talking again? Like last time we had you on the show, he was not talking to you.
Me and Lee have had an interesting, relationship over the years. Listen, there's been times that I'm not an easy guy to get along with, and there's times he's not been an easy guy to get along with. But I get along with him fine now. We've been good for a little while now. So he had his cars here testing the other day, and I think Lee is a stand-up person. I really like him, really respect him a lot, especially as a race car driver. I mean, I tell people all the time that even when I wasn't his biggest fan, and I'm not necessarily a fan of anybody, but even when I really wasn't sure if I liked him or not. I still thought that he's probably the best late model stock car racer we've ever had. Most talented guy who could go to any racetrack, any week, and be, competitive. And I expect his cars. I'm going to tell you, Corey Heim and Brandon Pierce were both good yesterday. Corey ripped off a really good lap, on his qualifying run. The time of day he went, I think, helped him a little bit more than when Brandon went out for his. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with those two cars. But I think Corey Heim is another guy who seems to take to these cars and take to these new tracks very well, and I think he could play a factor this weekend.
Quick question. Obviously, it's really more, when you and I talked, I wanted to kind of pick your brain about, the short track racing as a whole in 2020, which obviously very kind of out there and kind of scattered amongst, a Speedway comes out, has, 3 events back-to-back weekends, and then Governor Cooper essentially shuts them down. Hickory running without fans. We Motor Mile decided not to run at all, and I'll get back to that in a minute because I'm sure you know what I'm going to ask. And obviously Myrtle Beach with their last hoorah this past Saturday. I know you didn't go to Myrtle Beach a whole lot. You'd send Corey down there, or Corey would volunteer to go down there for race 22 anytime they raced at Myrtle Beach. But talk a little bit about racetracks, and especially in this pandemic, because, up here in our area, there are people questioning whether Orange County will ever open back up, with everything going on. So I just kind of wanted to get your 2 cents, one on kind of the end of an era at Myrtle Beach, and then kind of as a whole, what you think the pandemic here has done for short track racing as a whole.
It's a mess, man. I mean, I think, overall the country, it's a mess. I mean, it's, every racetrack faces a different element, a different situation. The circumstances are so different. It's really crazy. I feel sorry for all the racetrack promoters who have to try to operate during this. I mean, we've had some success. I think, a few other racetracks have had some pretty decent success during this, got some good opportunities, but a lot of them haven't been so lucky. I mean, Orange County's, one of them. They haven't been so lucky through this. I mean, they're in a, fairly liberal area, and they probably won't get to race this year. I mean, it's very unlikely. I mean, I won't name the track, but I had looked into leasing a track in North Carolina for a few races for this year and talked to the health department down there. And I come away from that conversation knowing that all those tracks down there in North Carolina were going to have a really huge uphill battle to have any racing throughout this year. And, Hickory's taking it on the chin, doing it without fans. And I think that's good and bad. I think it's good for the racers and the teams to get to race, but I think Hickory's not gaining anything by doing that, because you're not really making money. You're not doing anything, and I think that hurts. But Myrtle Beach, I hate to see Myrtle Beach go. I've never been a big fan of Myrtle Beach Speedway.
Neither am I, by the way.
Well, I hate that fiddle fart racing that they do down there, where they ride around 3/4, throttle and pretend like they're racing side by side at Talladega. I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
But some people are, and some people like it. Corey loves it. I mean, I think that's probably the beer, but he loves it.
Yeah.
So and it's different for everybody. I've never been a big fan of it, but I don't want to see any racetrack go, especially with a racetrack as much history as Myrtle Beach Speedway has. And unfortunately we're in a time where we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see more racetracks that are in areas where retail business and housing is creeping in on them. We're going to see more of them disappear. Yeah. I mean, I could name 2 or 3. I'm not going to, but I could name 2 or 3 that in the next 5 years, that's probably going to happen. 5 to 10 years, that's probably going to happen to. And it's unfortunate. And I think Steve Zacharias did a great job down there with what he was able to do. And And I'm interested to see what happens at Florence. I think that's a good opportunity for him. I think that's going to be a lot bigger challenge than Myrtle Beach was. When you have a destination there, for people to come to, right. It's a whole lot easier to get people to come to something like that, especially, when you can tell your wife, hey, we're going to go to the beach, and you can go to, the Tanger outlets or wherever, all the glitz and glamour that comes with being in Myrtle Beach. Right. So you ain't got any of that glitz and glamour in Florence. I've been there, and there ain't no glitz or glamour there. It's about like Franklin County, so you just, it's not the same appeal. Now it's a great racetrack, and I think they'll put on some great racing there, and I hope they do great things. But that's from a promoter standpoint, going from Myrtle Beach to Florence, that's a huge drop, and I'm interested to see what he's able to do with it.
Next question, and I saw this literally, I don't know, an hour and a half ago. I see where Motor Mile has been listed as for sale.
For a cool $2.2 million.
No, 2.8.
2.8.
So if you and Kim have a 2.8 laying around, you can just buy that, and then you can have, you can all have, every other weekend. Franklin County one weekend, Motor Mile one weekend, kind of like Orange County, South Boston used to do back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, according to some people, that's about what we've made off the last 3 or 4 races. I'm pretty sure that that's inaccurate number, but hey, whatever they want to go with there. But Motor Mile, man, I have to be careful what I say here. I like Motor Mile. Last year's racing was probably the best racing that they've had since since they opened in the late 80s, and throughout the first 10 years or so that they were open. Last year's racing was fantastic. I mean, I went to every race they had except for the car store race last year, and every race that they had was there. I left there with something to talk about. There was something cool, something interesting, something wild that happened. Yeah. And that's, you go to short track races, that's all you can ask for is for something good to happen, something exciting, something worth talking about. And they had that. They had a great season. They had a huge improvement, from the years before. They were closed the season before that. But in 2017, they really struggled to get fans, to get cars, to produce anything even remotely exciting. And coming off of last year, I was really expecting them to have a really good season this year. I was planning on being there for every race, and I was thinking they were going to have a really good season. I thought their late models would be off a little bit this year. Things change, from year to year. I thought, but their limited class was going to be exceptional. I was really looking forward to that. But, that place being for sale, ain't nobody going to pay that for it. And that's, the funny thing about it is, you in order to buy the whole facility, you got to pay like $5 million or something. It's like 2.8 for the oval track, and like 2.9 or something for the drag strip, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Right. If you could buy that place for about $1 million, you might get a return on investment in 10 or 15 years. Right. So I don't anticipate that anybody buys that for a racetrack. And what happens going forward, without it being sold, I don't know. I think that as much as I respect and like the people that have managed the track in the past, they're not racing people. Yeah. They're not promoters. They don't know how to sell tickets. They might can sell some advertising, sponsorship, stuff like that, and that's cool. And you need to be able to do that. Somebody's got to do that. Yeah. But in order to have success at a racetrack, you got to have a racing person running. And there's a lot of racetracks that are in that same boat. That they're struggling to find somebody who can take that lead and can really take the charge and sell tickets. And that's the biggest challenge that short track racing or any entertainment venue has. And Motor Mile's never been able to overcome that, and I really never anticipate they will. And that's unfortunate because it's a beautiful facility, and it could be used for so many things. I think I'll be honest with you, I think a guy like Steve Zacharias could go there, could run that place and do a fantastic job, and he'd probably like it a whole lot better than he would Florence. But I don't see that happening, and unfortunately, probably Motor Mile will cease to exist before too long, and that's sad because we're running out of racetracks in this immediate area I'm in. Motor Mile is about 45 miles from Franklin County, and used to be 3 or 4 more racetracks around here, and they're all gone. And it won't be long, and they'll all be gone, unfortunately.
Well, and that leads me to my next question, and you've been doing this for a long time, and know a lot of people, and have some insight. We've always talked about the struggle. I mean, we even talked about struggle with attendance and people promoting. When we talked last year, and when there was no pandemic, and now we're in the middle of a pandemic, which I think, in a way, could be, you could use some reverse psychology here. I went to Dominion for the first time for the Cars race 2 weeks ago, and you talk about an amazing facility. They've done a lot of work. They've put a lot into that racetrack. It's fast. It's competitive. It's state of the art. I mean, I made the.
It's got a road course around it. It's got a drag strip. It's got a drift park. It's got a concert venue, and it's got a business park that's going up right beside it.
Yeah, so I mean, so places like that, but just from the oval track standpoint, I put a Dominion, really nice facility. I've always been very high on South Boston and what Kathy Rice has been able to do up there the last several years. But what is this? In your opinion, what does this pandemic and 2020 do to what the 2021 season looks like for short track racing in the Southeast, the North Carolina, Virginia area?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't think anybody has the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Before I even start to try to give you something that I think I think it's the same thing. I think the pandemic, as far as that goes, in my opinion, really hasn't changed anything. And I say that knowing that it's changed everything here, for us this season so far. But for next year, if this goes away, you listen to all these political people, and they all think that it's going away in November, after the election, and that may or may not be true. I don't know. Whatever. But if that's the case and it goes away and we go back to racing in 2021, I don't think anything's changed. I think we're still in the same position where people have to be able to sell tickets. Mm-hmm. And if you can't sell tickets, then you can't survive. And most of the people running the racetracks can't sell tickets.
Yeah.
And that's a sad fact. I mean, if they could, every race would have the kind of crowds that the Cars Tour races have when the Cars Tour shows up. Because every race at these racetracks is worth going to. You just got to sell somebody on the fact that it's worth going to. And most people are not good at selling that. And it's hard. It's an extremely hard game, even if you think you're good at it. And at times I think I'm good at it, and at other times I think I'm an idiot. But it's very hard to sell tickets, and I think that every racetrack has a hell of an uphill battle to try to overcome normal elements. And I think that the ones that did a good job during this pandemic and made some strides during this are going to be the ones who come out better. Mm-hmm. But I really don't think it changes much.
Yeah, and like I said, I think, I've looked at it from a little bit different perspective. And you and I talked about this at Ace Speedway. Me and you both looked at each other and said, we have never seen this many people ever at Ace Speedway the first weekend they ran. And, look, I get it. I mean, people have been boxed up in their house for the better part of 2 months. There was an opportunity to go to a race, but it goes exactly back to what you just said about selling tickets. They had, in my opinion, and I don't know, you can agree or disagree, in my opinion, the biggest crowd that's ever watched a race at Ace Speedway. That first race weekend they had. A lot of that I think had to do with the Bowman Gray modifieds being there, and that Bowman Gray, they love those modifieds. They're going to go watch them race wherever they can. You've benefited from that as well. But for Ace, they were able to cash in on that. But then the Cars race 2 weeks later, there might have been a third of the people there for the Cars race. So that goes back to the whole selling tickets thing and how you promote it. So I agree with you 100%. I think it still goes back, but I also kudos to Kevin Piercy at Hickory for at least giving racers somewhere to race. He's not making a ton of money. He's got an opportunity because he does have some parking on the hillside that people can actually go and park and actually watch the race. He did have fans for the second Cars race, which I thought was good. I didn't, but on the flip side,
he limited it. So
yeah, but on the flip side, he didn't bank out like he would have if it was the throwback race it was supposed to be. So I think that the pandemic you can play it from both sides of the coin. In regards to, how do you promote hey, we're going to have a race at Ace Speedway this weekend. Come to the racetrack because you've been cooped up for 2 months, right? And then after that, they can't do anything.
Yeah. But it's very difficult. By the time they got the first race in, I understand. By the time they got that first race in, man, they knew all eyes were upon them. Now, do I think they helped bring all those eyes upon them? Sure. They went about it in a way that brought more attention to the situation than probably had to happen. But you do what you got to do to sell tickets, and they did that, and they sold a lot of tickets. I don't think that was the most fans ever. It was a lot. I mean, I've been there since 1999. I've seen a lot of really good crowds there. In the Robert Isley days.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the ever part, but it was definitely one of the best crowds ever, I'm sure. But everything's every and man, I wish I could tell you everything. You know what I mean? I wish I could sit here on this interview tonight and tell you every element of everything that we've been through here. I can't right now, but when this is over, I will.
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything, and if I could tell you everything, you'd understand a lot more about what's going on. And I don't share that information with hardly anybody, unless they're extremely close to me.
Yeah.
Because I can't. There's things about it that can't be told. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it's just promoting a racetrack is so difficult.
Yeah.
On a normal day, and then you throw in this pandemic, man. It's like nearly impossible to tell you how hard it is to, when the phone rings, every day of a week, and it's the health department on the other end of the line, and and I've experienced this, and it's somebody further up the line, and they're looking to, find out what you were doing. Somebody complained, somebody did something, and sometimes those complaints may be valid. And other times, the complaint's just a bunch of BS. I mean, I talked to, my health department representative here, and I was like, man, how many crazy phone calls do you get about people about restaurants and about businesses that you find out ain't true? It's just somebody mad at them. He said most of them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, and it's because, the leaders of these states and, these areas, are encouraging people to call about things like that.
Yeah.
So they make it worse, because then you get those people who want to complain anyways. Oh man, they got a new person to complain to now.
Yep.
So it's difficult. I feel Ace's pain, man. While I don't necessarily, I support them 210%, even though I don't necessarily agree with some of the ways they went about doing the things, or I wouldn't have necessarily done that myself. I'm not saying I don't agree. It is what it is. You do what you got to do. You take the path that you think that you need to take. But there's a lot of things that if everybody knew, what was going on, they'd be blown away. There's so much politics, so much BS involved in all of this that it's just it's incredible. It's incredible to try to do anything at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and look, I know that Tony and I both, I mean, we can't thank you enough for everything that you do for short track racing, not just from a Race 22 standpoint, but basically giving racers the opportunity
to have a platform.
Yeah, to have somewhere to race in a time where there's not a lot of racetracks. I mean, and I'm not going to name them here because heaven forbid, Governor Cooper watches our podcast tomorrow and then basically goes after racetracks. But there are some racetracks that
we ain't no rats
have kind of played in the kind of hid in the weeds, so to speak, and they've been able to do some things. And I was really excited, man. I heard some amazing things about what was going on at Tri-County with their new ownership. They basically got in there and basically
revamped the whole track.
Just revamped it, got it cleaned up, got it looking good. Which I honestly, Langley, I know that you're trying to do the same thing at Franklin County and get it up to a standard that people want to come watch races every Saturday or every other Saturday night. And it's just unfortunate that they do. And look, I'm not saying they did it the right way or the wrong way, but I know that you guys are, you're crossing T's and dotting I's and you're doing everything the way you're supposed to do it. So at the end of the day, man, you're playing by the rules and you're playing the cards that you've been dealt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell people all the time, they say, well, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? And I always tell them, I say, look, you have to read the guidelines given to you by the governor, just like a racer reads a rule book.
That's right.
There are a lot more gray areas than there are black and white.
Right.
So you have to find a way to operate within those gray areas until they find a way to shut those down. I mean, it's just like tech every week. I mean, every week in tech you find something that ain't necessarily against the rules, but it should be.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. And that's what all of us are doing. We're finding areas that we feel like we can make work, for us. And sometimes they work out for you, that they have for some racetracks, and sometimes, like Ace's case, they have definitely not worked out for you. But it's just like you said, it's the cards you're dealt, and some people cheat in poker and others don't, and if you can cheat and get away with it, you do. So that's what we're all doing.
So are you saying that you're cheating or playing by the rules?
Yes.
Well, it depends on which side. I mean, if I'm in the governor's office, I'm probably thinking that I'm cheating. If I'm here, I think I'm playing by the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all perception, and that's just like a racing rule book. It's all perception, and it's all the way a sentence is wrote, and the way you read it, and the way you comprehend it, and you may in the back of your mind know what it is supposed to say, but that ain't what it says.
Right.
And if that ain't what it says, then you ain't got to do that, So, there's ways around everything. We're as close to being by the rules as we can be.
Yep.
Are there areas where we could be better and we could do better things and we could social distance more and we could, do some things that they would like better? Probably.
Yeah.
Are there some areas where they're not smart enough? And I'm not condemning them when I say this. I'm saying this because they don't know anything about what we do. Are there areas where they could be smarter about what we do and make it easier for us to operate and make it easier on them to enforce the rules? Yeah, I could help them write that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables there that they're blanketing a business based on what they think. And what they think doesn't really matter because they don't know.
All right. Well, this is going to be the final question from me. Is there a bologna burger on the menu, and can I bring a card, or do I need to bring cash to get in the gate and to buy the food?
There is absolutely a bologna burger on the menu.
Yes.
And I would put our bologna burger up against pretty much anybody's.
Wow.
I think,
okay.
We have a local barbecue joint that does our concessions, and they do the bologna burger, and I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
Of course, now I have to preface that by saying that I have actually never ate it as they make it. Only, if there's a piece of bologna left at the end of the night, I just pull it out of the tray when it's sitting there. Nobody's bought it. You know what I mean? So I just pull it out of there and eat it without a bun. So I don't know, but the bologna is fantastic.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys find our bologna burger to be great. I mean, I think the bologna is really good. If everything else, if everything else is is good about it, I feel like you guys will really enjoy it. And their barbecue and their, I don't know, I think it's a Buddy Burger, I think it's called.
Okay.
You got to try it. It's got barbecue on a burger, and their burgers are fantastic. They're they're called Tender and Tasty or something. They're fantastic. I mean, they're really good. We have great food, but you probably need to bring cash in order to get it. I think one of the concessions has a way to take credit cards. I don't think they all do. So I'm not sure which one's which, to be honest with you, because I've got so many other things going on that I don't get in the weeds of the concessions because I got too many other things. But at the gate, buying tickets, bring cash, bring exact change, and you'll be good to go.
Right on. Well, I will tell you. So what we're gonna do, obviously we'll be there. I'll be there this weekend for sure. We're gonna start critiquing everybody's bologna burger at the racetrack. So you guys are first up. I know for a fact I'll be at Carteret in September, possibly Langley next weekend for the Cars race. Not 100% sure, but what we're going to do is we're going to critique all these bologna burgers, and then we will have a top 10 list, hopefully by start of 2021, so we can kind of, let everybody know. But
that's right.
Obviously, Pit Road TV, Cars Tour TV will have the broadcast. Race 22, who's going to be doing your Race 22 coverage this weekend at Franklin County for the Cars race?
Yeah, Brandon White pretty much does all of our Cars Tour content, so he'll be here this weekend taking care of it. I'm sure Corey will be here taking photos. I'm not sure Corey would miss an opportunity to come to a race like this at Franklin County.
Yeah. Well, and before I let you go, I do want to ask you, I know that this past weekend at Myrtle Beach, Andy Marquis' last assignment with you guys at Race 22. Talk a little bit about how he was a big part of getting you guys to where you're at and what he contributed. Obviously, he's going to continue to do stuff in short track racing with Carteret County Speedway, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on him as he kind of steps out of the limelight of Race 22.
Yeah, I mean, Andy's been a big part of it for, I think 9 years, 10 years, a long time. We've had our differences over the years, but he's done a fantastic job for us when we've needed him to step up to the plate. He's always done a great job, and I hate to see him go, but when you get other opportunities, I'm the kind of guy, I would never stand in the way of a guy getting another better opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's everybody who's came through Race 22. I mean, you look at the people that have came through. I mean, Matt Weaver, worked for us for a while, on the short track scene. You got Chris Owens, who, worked for us, way back. And, he's a photographer for, he was shooting a lot of photos in the Cup Series, but now he's working with, not World of Outlaws. I can't remember one of those dirt series. I think it's World of Outlaws.
Right.
So got a lot, and there's a lot of other people that have came through and went on to do other things, and that's kind of what we're about. Is giving people opportunities to do what they want to do in racing, and hopefully, I believe Andy's got some opportunities that'll take him in another direction, and be better for him and a good situation for him, and hopefully Brandon will carry the torch here for us with Race 22, and we'll be able to continue to have a really good product. This year's been a mess for short track racing, but for Race 22 we've had nothing to cover there for a while, and no content, and it was very difficult. And then I bought I did a deal to acquire Late Model Racer magazine. Of course, we've never got our first one out because of the whole situation.
Right.
So hopefully that's getting ready to turn the tide there too. And
cool.
and Brandon will be a big part of that. hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to carry on, race 22 in a similar manner that we have in the past. And, once I stop racing weekly, which is after this week, actually we'll start going bi-weekly here. I'll probably be at a lot more races myself. So, looking forward to that, and appreciate all the things that Andy's done, and appreciate you guys. I'm glad you guys are getting the podcast fired back up. I thought y'all were just going to let Windshield Deep take over the world, but
you know what? They do a great job. They do a great job.
I knew you were going to jab, but that's cool. I mean, look, I think, and look, I watched those guys do their post race at Myrtle Beach on Saturday night, and you know what? Kudos to those guys for getting Corey Latham to drink a fucking Truly.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy actually drank a Truly on air, and I'm like, really? But I mean, it's cool, man. Look. Langley, I'm excited for the opportunity that you and Kim have this weekend hosting a cars race at Franklin County. I'm really excited about our first trip up there this weekend. Look forward to seeing you guys. And like I said, man, we can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast, helping us get back on track. And hopefully we can do a little bit better job so we can kind of get up in the ratings with the Windshield D.
Yeah.
Hey, well, whatever y'all do when you come here, don't expect a beauty pageant, okay?